For all of you who listen to Mac East Second Floor Studios presents Submersion and own an Android device, do me a favor. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android device. I use the app and I love it. I can search for the podcasts I want to listen to, select them as favorites, and have them all just a click away. Make sure to set Mac East Second Floor Studios as a favorite so you don't miss any of our new episodes. Again, the app is the Podcast Republic app, available on Android devices. Episode 38.
Woo!
38.
There we go.
Dirty 38.
So that's you heard the third co-host. It's Kyle, me, Jamie. You're probably missing me, missing all my dick jokes and everything because we've taken a week off.
Oh, way to get it in there right at the beginning,
Gots to. And then Brom on the other end.
I'm here. 38. Two episodes from being over the hill.
Wow.
And it's
true. And
it's
almost
been an
as old
honor.
as I am.
Dude, and speaking of being over the hill, you probably felt like you were over the hill going back to our college for homecoming, right?
Oh, yes, I did. Bowling Green homecoming this past weekend. Had a great experience with Zach the Backbone and the Mustard Man, as well as another friend. I guess, is Renner a part of Zach's podcast that he's releasing? Is that
Yeah.
Is that
I didn't know
correct?
Rip was there.
Yes, he was with us, and I didn't realize that he was Rip until we were playing poker, and we had to use our phones to keep tabs on our chips. We used an app, and his nickname on there was Rip, so then I put two and two together.
You are a genius.
Yeah, it's a really great story. But Kyle, why weren't you there? I didn't know it was for homecoming either. I knew you guys were down there, and I was trying to figure out what it was. Like, can't be reunions. Too early for reunions. Maybe it was just a weekend out there. I didn't realize homecoming would, I guess, be October.
Yeah.
Really celebrating that powerhouse football team.
Falcons, man.
Won. Almost
got one.
I got one win so far.
We do. We're relevant. You know, we belong in the Division One. We've beat another Division One team, so
That's all you need, man.
That's true. That's more than my alma mater can say. They have not beaten any Division I teams, but
I bet they could.
No.
I bet they could.
if they really try.
You got to play the right teams.
Right, yeah, you got to pick the exact one. Actually, Bowling Green might be a good one to choose.
Yep. Yeah, that'd be a good shootout right there. Oh, man. Yeah, I did not make it.
You were busy with your video games, I think, right?
Yeah, new Call of Duty, and I think they realize, I think they're probably big fans of our podcast
Right.
because I was playing one of the levels. It is in the Arctic, and in the
Whoa.
middle of the level is
Wait,
a
Arctic or
submarine.
Antarctic?
Arctic.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because we had a lot of Antarctica lately. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, wow, that's pretty relevant.
Yeah. Well, I guess they don't really say, but it's in an ice-covered area.
Yeah,
and
we had a lot up in the Arctic, too, but just earlier in the podcast.
Right. These things have gone in cycles.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
true.
get the Antarctica thing. I actually found out somebody from work is going on vacation to Antarctica.
My brother is.
Your brother is
Yeah,
too?
Patrick is this winter.
Wow. Oh, so they're summer.
Yes, Antarctica summer.
Interesting. I wonder if he's going to run into the guy. Is he going on a cruise?
Well, they have to go on a boat. Yes, yeah. You have to go on like one of those boats. When is it? Christmas?
It's like January.
I know. So yeah,
Ah,
it's probably the
shoot.
one before it or something.
Dang.
Wow, that would have been amazing. They could have done the podcast
Like,
from there.
What is going on here?
If only someone would press some kind of sound effect to make it so that we got past this. Dive, 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 dive. There we go.
Back in the saddle.
What began as an innocent conversation among friends would soon spiral out of control and later be referred to by future generations as the eighth wonder of the modern world. Mac East Second Floor Studios takes you on the journey of your lifetime as your captains, Alex the Mustard Man, the artist formerly known as Brom, Jamie the Brain, Kyle El Capitan, and Zach the Backbone present Submersion. Dude, I've got a pretty good story actually before we even get started.
Wow, really?
Yeah. The other weekend, I went out muskie fishing with a buddy of mine, and we were getting ready to launch the boat, and we were putting some snacks in there because we fish all day. Like we left at 7:30 in the morning. I didn't get back till midnight. But he pulls out bananas.
Whoa.
And I was like, wait. What's going on? And He's like, I know bananas are bad luck. I said, I know they are too, but it's just superstitious. Let's see what goes on. So,
and you sunk and you died.
We launch the boat. We get out. We are not even an eighth of a mile from where we launch. And all of a sudden we're just we're going over a spot where the sonar says it is totally wide open. We smoked something, totally destroyed the prop. We had to get a new prop.
And then you sunk and died.
Almost.
You can't
Actually,
see this,
we saw.
You can't see this. He's a ghost right now.
I am.
Ghost.
I am a ghost.
It was weird when he showed up, but I roll with it.
It's like, ooh, I don't need to knock on doors anymore because I can just come through the walls.
That's true. And then he got into my house, and I was like, "Get out of here, Kyle."
Nope, I'm chilling. Anyway,
yes, there we go.
Brom.
If only there was a sound that we can play twice in one episode.
If only there was another co-host to rescue us from these stories that we're getting ourselves into.
You can't. There's nobody to do it. Brom, what did we watch?
We watched the 1957. I mean, I guess this is really a classic. I wouldn't have known if I didn't know better and look on IMDb here. But we watched The Enemy Below.
True. And it is truly a classic for a variety of reasons.
Oscar winner.
Ooh.
Oscar winner. It was on the top 10 of the National Board of Review films of the year for that year. Yeah, well regarded. I think it's well regarded, especially some of the action, boat and submarine action that we got to see.
And the mind games.
Yes. Yeah.
You can never downplay that.
No. And it was. Do you have any people who were the people involved?
Robert Mitchum as our American captain, and Curd Jurgens.
Curd Jurgens. Sounds like we're making that up. No, that's definitely the real name.
If you look on IMDb, sometimes they have it with a T and sometimes with a D.
That's really interesting.
So I like to think of somebody named Curd.
Curd Jurgens.
Curd.
Hey, Curd, what you doing? There's that Curd, that little fat bastard.
Yeah, and then the director, and I'll bring it up later, the director is also well known in bad movie spheres for some of the movies he's made. But yeah, so shall we get right into it?
I mean, we're not even right into it. I think we're already 8 minutes deep.
Wow. So we are in the South Atlantic in World War II. That was actually something I found kind of interesting in South Atlantic. So it's kind of hot. They were they were launching from Trinidad and Tobago, right? Trinidad and Tobago.
Good enough, man.
Tomato. And they're basically, we kind of jump into the middle of them kind of cruising about on this ship because they've just gotten a new captain. Basically, this new guy is down there. They're all kind of just chilling, and they've more or less had a very boring time on this, ship. They're we don't really do much. They're never really prepared for any kind of battle or anything like that.
Right.
They're playing bridge, which I actually really enjoyed the scene of them kind of playing bridge and this young guy not being able to do it very well. He doesn't really know the rules or how to play bridge.
Because you already said he's young.
He is young.
And young people don't play that.
So they're really getting on
I
his
didn't even
case.
know what game it was.
Yeah, it was bridge. So my dad is a huge bridge player.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. He played it all the time. But it can be very stressful if you are playing with someone who doesn't really know how to play, because it's these very intricate rules of kind of you look at you look at your own cards, and based on betting by everyone around the table, you get a sense of what everyone else kind of must have. And there's all these kind of coded ways of kind of saying that you don't have much or you have these certain things. And as you go through, you bet and you try to guess how many things you will win based on what you learn from everyone else's hands. So if you don't know what you're doing, you can really overbet, and that's the worst, because if you don't meet the bet that you made, you lose a bunch of points or whatever.
Interesting.
So he's kind of screwing it all up, this young guy.
What an idiot.
But yeah, so it's a very hard game, but they're all kind of messing with him, kind of angry, but also discussing the fact that they have this new captain, and this new captain, more or less get the idea that he has been sick for a while, because he was on a ship. He used to be a marine, or a merchant guy, running a ship between England and America, and his ship was torpedoed, and it was very obviously a stressful situation. He was rescued, and then he recovered in Trinidad and Tobago, and then was put on this boat. He kind of enlisted and was put as the captain of this boat. More or less to recover, because he just spends all his time in his bunk. So no one sees him. No one really knows much about him. All they know is that he was a civilian not that long ago and is injured and recovering. So everyone's like, this guy's a jokester. And
they call him a feather merchant.
Yeah.
I think that's some kind of weird, put down. He's just a feather merchant.
Right.
All right, whatever. But people may not realize Jamie is not misspeaking when he uses the word ship. They are not on a submarine.
No submarine. Yeah, no submarine yet.
Because the enemy is below.
The enemy is the one that's below.
On a submarine.
Yeah, spoiler alert, but the enemy's below. And so, we even have some of the lower sailors kind of being like, this guy's a jokester, and other people being like, well, if you're such a hotshot, maybe you should have been the captain, kind of like razzing this other guy. And,
the guy with the most insane voice on the planet.
It was like real deep like this. Hey, maybe you should have been the captain, buddy.
And it doesn't look like he should have that voice at all. He kind of looks like a tall version of me, but he's like,
Hey, why are you making fun of the captain?
Yeah. I can't even do it. It's just so cliche and forced.
It's
great.
Yeah, it was the acting here. When this started up, I was kind of like, I like that bridge and like this, but the acting was pretty weak at this point. So I was like, I'm not sure why this is so well regarded. But then we get into basically the rest of the film here may as well be. It's just like a really long chase scene in a lot of ways. It's almost like having a car chase. That's an entire movie, kind of, because they get a blip on their was it the radar or the sonar? Sonar. They get a sense that there's something out there, and the captain comes up, and he clearly is like from the jump amazing. He's like, there's a chance that what we're seeing is a U-boat. There's also a chance it's not, and it's like whatever, and it's kind of choppy seas or whatever, and so it could be interfering with the instruments or whatever. But they don't seem to have seen us. They're kind of moving in the other direction. So he tells them to kind of stay the same distance from them at all times. So if they move, try to move with them, and if they slow down as well, because he's like, we're gonna look like a blip on their machine, kind of like this weird deformity in the sound, and they're gonna wonder, wait, is this some kind of thing that we're just like interference we're getting,
an echo,
or is this something real, an echo of themselves? And so they're gonna move around a bunch trying to see if this echo trails or moves differently to say like, it's definitely a ship. So he's like, just follow it, kind of just like follow it around. Like, we have a chance potentially to go after this submarine, but we have to first convince it that we're nothing, that we're just basically nothing to worry about.
And then we cut on over to the U-boat.
Oh yeah, and
we see Curd Jurgens.
I was happy here because in my mind I had wondered whether this was going to be something where like the submarine is more of like a vague entity that is only occasionally seen.
But no, man,
we're right
just as much in it as the Americans.
Yeah, pretty much 50-50, and we get a really good sense of the characters here too, because what would you say the characteristics of the captain of the submarine are?
He's smart.
He's smart,
He's decisive.
Yeah.
And he is not your traditional Nazi.
No, he's a little disillusioned. So he basically explains that he got into submarines back when they were like World War I, kind of like these dirty rust buckets that they would float around in and hope they hit stuff every once in a while. But for the most part, you died or you tried to hit something and failed. Like that was basically the two options you had. And when you hit something, it was a true achievement because you're basically throwing just shit into the ocean and hoping it hit something.
Oh yeah.
And now he's like, these machines, like we're just a machine. This New Germany has become a machine, and there isn't any pride or anything real about it. And not only that, but we like kill a lot of people. He kind of implies like we kill a lot of people.
Oh yeah, because
we're going to hit something.
Yeah, his speech was
like
treasonous, probably.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if he didn't know
called
his
it a
crew,
bad war.
You even saw some things. So he even in the sub there was a sign that says "Führer by Fell were Folgen," and I'm sure I'm not saying that at all correctly, but I used Google Translate on it, and it says "Leader commands, we follow." And you see he like walks over and puts something over top of it. And even later in the
he covers the word
movie, Führer,
which
yeah.
And even later in the movie, there is one of the crewmen who is reading Mein Kampf, and the XO is like, look at that guy.
Yeah.
Captain's like, bro, get him out of here.
Right.
He's dumb.
Yeah. So they have a mission. And the mission is to basically take these British code books that they've gotten, and they're supposed to deliver it to a ship somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So they've stolen some code books, and that's why they're going kind of a straight line. They're not really paying attention too much because they have to really go to this rendezvous. And even the American is pretty cognizant of this. He's like, if he's going this straight line, they're heading to something, and we're one boat. And if we end up where they're heading, we're going to get done fucked up.
Yep.
Because there's going to be like 6 ships there, and we're going to be blown to smithereens. So we got to not only do we have to be careful and like kind of stay our distance, keep our distance for a little while, but we also have to be aware that we have to at a certain point attack this boat.
Yeah.
We can't have it both ways of just like following it because we know it's going to a rendezvous.
And there's this old guy on the U.S. ship who I really wish was Don Knotts in this movie.
The doctor, yeah.
Yeah. Did you get that feeling? It's like,
I just
this guy with Don Knotts would be way better.
It would have been, and I did find him a very funny character of just being kind of this old. He's kind of like an old ho.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the doctor here.
And then he's asking the captain, about who he used to be because, you're a feather merchant. And he didn't say it like that at all. But we find out the captain, while he was working on that tanker that got torpedoed,
Yeah.
his wife was on board.
Yeah, so he had met his wife in England, and so he was like super into his wife, obviously. He was like, whoa, check out her, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, wow, she's actually, she's really hot. And he's like, yeah, my wife's super banging. And then they were like, well, the war's coming. You should probably take your super banging wife back to America. He's like, that's true. Like, we don't want those Nazis to come along and see my super banging wife and be like, we don't have that in Germany. And so they would, he got them all, and got basically her passage on the same ship that he was on. And
Mistake.
No, not great. Although not quite as bad as when you torpedo the boat that has your family on it.
Not as bad, but
No,
pretty darn close.
It's just more of an accidental version of that.
Right.
Instead of purposely killing your family,
Yeah.
he kind of accidentally killed his family.
Yeah. So we can look past it a little bit here.
A little bit, yeah. And so he basically said like their ship was torpedoed in half, and she was on the other half of the ship. Uh-oh.
And all of a sudden, we get a dive alarm. Or not a dive alarm, but we get an alarm. Because what do they see off in the distance? The U-boat.
It has surfaced?
It has surfaced. And they see the ship. And now they get a dive alarm. And everybody's just going crazy.
Yeah, so what made them come? They came up to kind of see what was going on, to see what was following them or something like that?
Probably to get air at some point, right?
Oh, maybe it was to get air, yeah.
I mean, this plays right into what the destroyer wanted, though.
Right, they wanted to see if it was real.
And if the sub comes up, then they have to move, and the destroyer gets to move into position while they're diving, and they hope that they could get a few shots off before it submerges.
Yeah, and he kind of can anticipate. He knows what the Germans are going to be doing, right? It's like if we are there, they're going to dive, but if he's any type of captain, at a certain point, he'll come up and try to torpedo, and we can time it. So it's basically like he's going to dive, and then he's looking at his watch. He's like, in 50 seconds, more or less, he's going to launch these torpedoes. He's going to see the position of the boat. He's going to think I'm a dum-dum, but I'm not. And then he's going to try to like shoot me. And he does it perfectly. Basically, he moves. Yeah. He moves right when he's like, nah, they probably shot now. He moves just in time, and the things like skirt right by. He's basically a fucking genius. It was amazing. And actually, the German captain, at some point, I was like, oh man, at some point, this Nazi's going to get like kind of the jump on him and beat him at his own game a little bit. They're going to see it like, no.
Yeah.
He was always on top. Like the American captain was always kind of like one step ahead.
Oh, definitely.
Like here, he's almost like 3 steps ahead. And the German captain kind of like reels it back in and it gets close, but never gets the advantage. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
He's like, basically, he's like almost superhuman in how he handles this.
Because I mean,
submarine.
The ship is huge. It's not super maneuverable.
No, and
they've able to do this.
And
they've got
and they've got all kinds of like the crew is basically green. Like they have no idea what they're doing. And they exemplified at a certain point. They're going to start to depth charge the submarine, and they're like, "We need you to be able to depth charge in like 3 minutes." Basically, when I tell you to depth charge, it needs to start going. And if I change where it's going to be, like you need to change too. This is another thing they were outsmarts the Germans, because the Germans are like, oh, we're going to sit down at like 50, feet or 50 meters or whatever it is. And he's like, okay, we're going to wait for them to set their depths. And so they set the depth charge to 50. And he's like, you got to be ready to change it on a dime. And they're like, okay, and now we're going to go down to 150. And he's like, they're change it to 150, change it to 150. And immediately things start shooting off. But of course they're green. So one of the kids gets his hand mangled.
His fingers cut off.
Straight up cut off. And
I was watching it. It's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
dude, what? It just happened.
Yeah, not the worst thing to get cut off while depth charging.
No,
would be
there are worse things.
Yeah, because I usually, when I'm setting a depth charge, I usually, just to keep my balance, I usually lay my dick right on like the railing.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have been good in this situation.
No, it would have been just sliced right off.
Right. But instead, he
Like a pepperoni
He
stick.
kind of balanced himself with his fingers, which I guess was the best case scenario.
Captains need to be extra careful around depth charges.
Right. You do
Yeah.
not want to get that Captain Dick stuck in there, because once that Captain Dick goes, everyone's like,
You're like, oh my gosh. What is that, a nub?
It's like your
Yes.
ponytail getting cut off if you're
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're Samson from the Bible, when his ponytail was cut off, right? That was the story? His ponytail got cut off?
I think so.
Yeah. Anyways.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Sure.
Anyways,
But do you remember
depth
what?
charging is amazing in this movie.
Oh yeah. I mean, they really had some nice scenes with the boat, or the ship. Sorry, not the boat, the ship. And a lot of stuff with the Navy, kind of allowing them to do a million depth charges and some really cool ones too. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and you can see it because we've seen these exact scenes in other films. I believe this was used in. I'm forgetting now which movie it was, but these depth charge scenes we've seen before.
Really?
Yeah.
They did look familiar.
Yeah, they were stock footage in a couple movies and a whole bunch of TV shows.
They're
and
good.
stuff. Yeah.
I wonder how many U.S.
it's
taxpayer
the,
dollars went to this
I don't
depth
think
charge.
it's not one that I've seen.
William H. Macy one.
Oh, no kidding.
Remember? Because they were
In Enemy Hands?
Yeah, there was the intercut scenes that were from
Really?
the 50s. It was from this movie.
That movie.
Yeah, it was terrible. It really was. It's actually more or less.
I had high hopes.
It's kind of a ripoff of. It rips off this movie quite a bit if you think about like,
It does,
the plot of
yeah,
it.
it's
All
true.
right, but there's no meningitis.
No meningitis. No.
But there is, we'll get into it later. We'll talk about it. But
Sub
Yeah.
v sub,
Do-
but yeah, it is kind
do you
of
remember?
similar.
Do you remember what that kid who got his fingers cut off? What he did?
you got his
Well,
fingers amputated.
Yeah, what-
but it was,
He was
oh,
a watchmaker.
Yeah,
Or-
they're like, oh man, when you get home, you can just go back to your job.
Yeah.
I'm a watchmaker. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, you're fucked. We sink the submarine. 'Cause otherwise, it was meaningless. You just lost your fingers, baby.
Goodness.
So yeah, what is the next thing? So they've basically been depth charging him a whole bunch. They kind of drive him crazy, right? Because they lay off a little bit and then they'll rush in and do it. He gets a sense of like how this is working every
But-
hour on the hour.
You know what
They
also is
rush in
great?
and do it. Yeah.
The Americans are able to locate the Nazis again, and the Nazis realize we need to go down even further.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy says that would crush the hull. And I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that's enough for crush step.
This has a million things like that. It has fish in the water.
Oh,
at certain
yeah,
points.
all the time.
Do you remember that wrench scene?
Who doesn't?
Giant wrench. Someone's like trying
Somebody is freaking out
because of the depth charging. Because they keep on doing these depth. They kind of rush in every hour on the hour. They rush in and they depth charge them, and they're kind of doing it over and over again. And the idea is at some point they're going to hit the submarine, and they need to do it at a certain point. But it also throws the submarine off. Like it really can't go very far in the direction that it needs to go.
because
If it
it's crawling.
Right. So it has to basically stop, and then it can't move very far, and they kind of just keep on going in and over and over and over again and drive them crazy too. So like this guy goes crazy, picks up a wrench, this giant wrench.
I mean, the size of a human. This wrench is huge.
It's really huge.
And this is probably my favorite quote we've had in any movie, right from Curd Jurgens himself. He just says, give me the wrench.
Yeah.
Electric.
Yeah. Really, really quite good. But I think this is where they decide to go even further down, right? He basically realizes because of the timing that it's just going to keep on happening. And at some point they're going to be destroyed.
And so, but they're not going to give up.
No.
They don't want to give up. And so just to screw with the Americans, he says, get me this record out of my
we're gonna be
room.
singing, yeah.
Somebody's like, are you out of your mind? Like they're going to hear that if you start playing a record. And he says, yep, turn it up. And then he gets everybody on the boat to start singing. So the Americans are like, they're having a really great time down there. We're not doing anything to them. And it's kind of reminiscent. We've seen, singing in other movies on subs.
That was from Down Periscope.
Yep.
That did the singing and that to trick people. I think it's kind of weird because it's a whole chase movie, kind of, that all of these like tactics and stuff kind of blend together. So we did kind of skip over a couple. I just know that they happened in some order, maybe not the order that we talk about them.
Yeah, it's just all going. There's a lot of like oil smoke screens that are let out.
There's a certain point that the German submarine like goes backwards and loses them, and then he knowing that they're going on a certain trajectory to try to drop off a so the code book or whatever. They know they're heading on heading 140 or something. He kind of like circles around and heads them off. He's like, eventually they'll head back on this thing. We're going to intercept them. And he finds them again. And that's when they go down to the bottom of the ocean. So they're like straight up on the bottom of the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
And it was great because he really was crushing everything. And they sat there for a really long time. And then the American captain, showing how smart he was, is like, they're on the bottom of the fucking ocean. And basically waited there for him. And they realize also like, we're fucked. Because they go real quiet. They start to move a little bit off the ocean. Immediately, they're like, we can hear them again. And
because they were literally laying on the ocean floor. Yeah. And as soon as you raise up, I mean, you're not just sitting in a bed of sand.
Yeah.
You know, you got rocks and stuff down there. It's going to make some noise.
Yeah.
But anyways, so the Nazis come back up and they're like, all right, we got to really screw up this ship. Yeah. We got to do something. So they're going to fire
one time. We know what they're doing every hour. They know when they're going to be attacking. They know all this stuff. So it is the only time that they really get like the advantage a little bit on them, on the Americans, and they get the drop because they're going
to fire a wide torpedo spread.
Yeah.
And he says all it takes is one of these things to hit them,
right?
And we're solid.
Yeah.
But then the Americans come up with a pretty devious plan here too. Actually, no, they do get hit.
Yeah, they get hit, and they're kind of disabled a little bit.
Yeah.
Or at least they pretend like they're more disabled than they are. They start to release stuff. They release all kinds of oil. And they
pile up mattresses and blankets and stuff on the deck and light it on fire. Just so
they're basically being like, we want to show as if we're going to surrender. They get the submarine to come up, and they're like, the submarine's going to be so tempted to basically take us out. They think we're totally disabled, and they can kind of move on, and they're going to take us out. And so when they make their move, we're going to fire an artillery shell. And we're basically going to turn the boat and we're going to fire an artillery shell at them.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's exactly what they do. And they fuck up the submarine in turn. So they basically fucked each other up. What's that? Oh, yeah. They definitely wanted to do that. Kyle was just showing me what he wrote down, and it's real funny. I just want the listeners to know, like, it's really funny.
It says the Nazis want to flex their cocks.
You shouldn't have told them. Oh. It was funnier when I didn't say it. Anyways.
I can take it out.
And so now they're both disabled.
Yeah.
The Americans basically all pile into a bunch of boats, lifeboats, and they kind of sail away. All of the submarine people there also they jump out and they climb into those boats as well. So now they're prisoners.
But they swim away after the Americans shoot them.
Yeah,
but they set explosives to detonate the U-boat.
Yes, they do.
They're going to explode the U-boat.
Because they're just going to ram the ship, blow this mother up.
Yeah, but his bestie friend, the Captain Curd Jurgens, his bestie friend is down below, and he's like all hurt, like really, really hurt.
Yeah.
And so he's not going to leave the ship without this dude. So he's basically like, I guess I'm just going to die. Like, that's it. But what's his name? The American captain is not having any of that shit. He's like, you're coming with me, and I'm being a fucking hero. So he like throws over some rope to them.
Yep.
They get this like injured person who's more or less dead. I mean, I'm not really totally sure. I guess it was so they didn't have to bury him. On
no man
submarine.
left behind, man.
I mean, I guess because didn't he die like right at the? Didn't he die like 5 seconds later?
He died, very quickly.
Yeah.
But anyway, they
got all
like I guess traditional sailor fashion. They get this like insane knot rope hitch harness thing all tied up in like 20 seconds. That'd probably take me an hour to figure out what I was doing, and he's able to shimmy the dude who's on his last legs.
It's like a pulley system.
Yeah.
And he may as well be a corpse because that's as much effort this guy can expend. He's dead. Like he is clearly dying.
Corpse hanging in the air, moving from the burning sub to the burning ship.
So they get up there and they're like, okay, we got to jump into the water, but because the rest of the crew does not want to give up this captain. They've come to love this guy who they were making fun of as a feather merchant. Like they're like, this guy is the man. He fucked up the submarine. We were nobodies. Like we really didn't do much at all around the South Atlantic, and he like tracked and took out the submarine.
Yeah,
and even they didn't even know at that point that they had like done a great service for the United States. I mean, they had code books that could have, been a big deal. They don't even know that. They still love this captain. They're like, we got to go back for him. We're not leaving him on that fucking boat.
Yeah.
So they go in and risk their own lives to go in there. They all pile onto the lifeboat. It goes out, and then everything explodes. And then we see them kind of being like, this your best friend is like pretty much dead. You knew that,
Yeah,
right?
dude.
And he's like,
He's toasted.
he's real donezo. But anyways, they get picked up by another boat. We see them burial at sea, which is another classic. I mean, we've seen a lot of movies with burials at sea at this point.
It's great.
And they kind of push him over the edge. The corpse falls out of the bag. It kind of gets tangled at one point. It's kind of like hanging, and it's like a real gruesome scene where everyone's like, there's a bunch of children,
like-
and they're like, oh!
His tongue's all flopping out. And they're like, why didn't you guys dress him? Why is he naked?
Yeah, it was
We're
weird.
like, oh, God.
Yeah.
None of
Full
that
frontal
happened.
corpse nudity. It was weird. And
That was a great
then-
visual effects.
I think that was the end of it, right?
Well, hold on.
yeah.
Both captains go to the back of the deck and they smoke some cigarettes.
Which is, that's talking about in enemy hands, right?
Boom.
Everything is the same as in enemy hands when you kind of track it back.
Oh, yeah.
Like even the disillusioned captain, where the captain is like, German captain's like, I'm like disillusioned with this war. It's like exactly the fucking same as in enemy hands.
Oh, yeah. When he wants to give up.
He has
Why
the
don't we just surrender to the Americans?
He's the XO bestie friend. That's
does.
weird because guess what? In enemy hands, he had an XO bestie friend.
He also has people who are really ingrained in like the Nazi cause. And they have that in both movies, too.
Yeah, and then they
Not
also,
as much in this one.
They also become like best friends with Nazis.
Yeah. He's like, hey, dude, you mind if I light my cigarette off yours? He's like, dude, come here. And they get so close, and he doesn't even let it leave his lips. And they're just touching tips
Of cigarettes, yeah.
gingerly.
Yep. It's pretty nice.
Enemy Below.
Yep. That's what we watched. We watched In Enemy Hands, starring William H. Macy.
Hey!
Look at that. That was like the best timing ever. Or did you just click that when we finished?
No, that
That was
did
perfect
it on
timing?
its own.
Oh my God. Guys, we've done it. We did it.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
We've accomplished all there is to accomplish. Thank you for tuning into Submersion. We'll see you next
done.
season.
Yeah. Next season for train movies.
Sorry, that is not happening. We still have an hour more of this episode, probably.
And everyone knows that season 2 is skate movies.
Skateboard movies, yeah, skate movies, got extreme movies, more like it.
Yeah, that extreme keeps us open to a lot of things.
Yeah, I want most vertical primate. That's my top movie.
That's
though.
it?
Mhm.
All right, man.
And Gleaming the Cube. That's the other one I want.
Flaming the Cube?
Gleaming the Cube.
Gleaming the Cube.
Yeah. It's a skateboard movie. Don't worry about
Sounds pretty clutch.
Season
So
2,
I'll-
Point Break movies.
it. Oh, there's
There
at
you
least two of those.
Yeah.
At least.
I will start off here because I know, Brom, you don't like going first. So, and I always make you do it.
Okay.
Robert, is that his name? Robert Mitchum?
Mitchum.
Was an emotionless statue of a man through this entire movie.
Just like I like it.
And you even mentioned earlier, acting could have been a lot better. Story was great.
Yeah.
I was kind of bored, but then when we started getting the cat and mouse, and it was literally for me the mind games. It was amazing to see these two go to work because in some movies we just see, oh, there's a sub, light it up, and they boom, blow it up. But
Right.
no, there are equally skilled people on both sides of the war, and it was cool to see them go head to head. And I mean, eventually, I would call it a stalemate.
I would say the like
Well, I guess the Americans actually, got all the people as prisoners.
it was more successful on the American side, and I think the tracking and the taking out of like the submarine was more of being in a defensive position. Like if it basically had the opportunity to get away, could it get away? It's a lot harder to trap than to evade, kind of.
They also got cocky though, because
Yes,
remember he sent out the signal. He's like, "I'm going to give you 5 minutes, then I'm going to shoot you down."
Yeah,
While the boat was totally immobilized, they could have just boom and
Right.
done it.
yeah, that's true. I mean, they definitely got the upper hand at the very end. I just feel like the Americans were able to kind of corral what was would have been a very difficult thing for anyone who was less experienced, kind of doing that kind of stuff. Like it was, I think the idea was really supposed to be he was like an all-star, even though he was more or less a civilian operating only on rage and like about the loss of his wife.
Yeah.
So like
He could have showed a little more emotion for something.
I wonder,
like that.
do you think the idea of this is supposed to be that he was more or less doing the tactics of what the U-boat did to his boat that killed his wife? But
no, that would have been a very interesting thing. Because he knew every single move.
He knew every move.
He knew.
Do you think it was because he had tried so
Lived
hard
through
to
this?
evade the U-boat, and then they seem to do all these tricks, and now he's like, I'm going to use this all on you. I'm going to destroy you by using all the tricks.
That would make sense.
I know all your tricks.
But it was that would be great. That never came to fruition. Like they never told us that.
Right,
but
yeah.
I think that's had to be how it was. Because nobody else is going to know all that stuff.
Right, just civilian. I mean, I guess maybe part of it's also that he was a shipper that was going from the UK to America and back all the time. So maybe that was more or less his job. His job was always to be evading submarines.
Yeah.
So now he's there and he's like, I know everything about you. Like, fuck
Gotcha.
you. Yeah.
But for me,
And maybe that's what happened. That's how his wife died, is that he was distracted by how hot she was.
yeah, he's like, gosh darn it, you sexy lady.
Mm-hmm.
I can't turn this boat in time.
No way. Evasive maneuvers. Get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm busy down here. You
Yeah.
do it yourselves.
Yeah.
Jesus.
They're like, what? Why is she on the other side of the ship? Anyways, the visual effects were amazing.
Yep.
Storyline was great. I mean, like we talked about classic, we've seen this copied in more recent movies.
So
For
many
me,
films, yeah.
it's an 8.
Wow. Okay.
Even with the horrible acting.
So I'm going to jump in. I'm going to let Brom go last this time because I'm going even higher than you.
No.
So I think I agree. Acting could have been better. I think part of it's just that when they made these movies back in the day, a lot of it was like, we need someone to operate this boat because we are actors and directors and producers and we can't do that stuff. And then they'd get to know these people and they'd be like, oh, you're going to be in the film because we need someone who's like supposed to be a torpedo man or a, artillery person who's in this scene. And guess what? You're an artillery man. So you should be able to do this. No problem. And I feel like a bunch of times people are like, yeah, I could definitely do it. No problem. And they were speaking lines all of a sudden. And
that's what the depth charge guy thought. He's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I got my fingers cut off.
What is your job back home? Well, I'm an actor. Duh. Come on. And but so I think that was probably the weakest part of it is the acting actually could have been a little bit better. But otherwise, I thought it was really surprisingly well directed. And they had a scene that I wanted to mention where they went out fishing, like Doc went out fishing.
Yeah.
And this thing where he'd like kind of dropped the fishing line into the water and you follow the fishing line down and it goes straight down to the submarine down below. And I'm like, honestly, I'm not even totally. I would need to see how they set that up to get all those shots together.
Oh, it was
because
awesome.
back obviously it's some combination of models and live, and at some point it transitioned from that live up to into the models and stuff like that. But it would have been cool to see even nowadays how that was all set up to make it look like it did. So there's there's innovation. They have this like these Navy things where really amazing scenes of depth charging, really really great storyline, tense. Some emotion. I mean, I actually could have done with the original ending, and I'll talk about that. Like, I do think.
Ooh, I'm interested.
I
in
do
that.
think the happy endings sometimes feel like a little bit, too polished of like an ending to a film. So them kind of being like, oh boy, Nazis and Americans. I guess we'll light these cigarettes together. And oh gee whiz, oh gee willikers. Like that kind of stuff is like, okay,
Right.
well, I mean, it's just that ages it a little bit and makes it a little old. But
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go. I'm not going to go a full 10. I'm definitely not going to go that full 12 incher. But I'm going to go 9.5.
Wow.
I really, really enjoyed this, and I have to go where my heart leads me, and my heart is leading me to 9.5.
Hot damn.
Yep.
Mr. Rowmaker.
All right, guys. You guys really changed your tune on this one. The first time we watched this, I really responded to Zach Galifianakis' character. And
Wait, Below?
the
You're talking about
ghost.
Below now?
Yeah, we're supposed to watch Below, right?
Yeah. Enemy
Yeah.
blow.
Oh, wait. Okay.
Oh, I thought you were
bad.
still making a joke about William H. Macy's in enemy hands.
My bad. I'm all confused. I thought we were supposed to watch In Enemy Hands and Below, and not The Enemy Below.
Right.
You
But
blew it, man.
I have seen The
Blew
Enemy
it.
Below many years ago before we did the podcast. That one was a pretty good movie, so I do see why you guys are rating it pretty high. Okay, enough with this long con joke. It's stupid. No, this movie had everything we want in a submarine film. I loved the depth charging scenes. I didn't recognize those before. I thought it was incredible though. The explosions right off the side of the boat is incredible. That's how those actually function.
It's amazing. It's really true. One of those things that before doing the podcast, as I've said before, like there's aspects of submarines and all this stuff that I had like no knowledge at all. And they go, being depth charged. I'm like, I wonder what that is. And now it's like, wow, like, kind of crazy.
It's just like a bomb in a 55-gallon drum that you launch off the side of
just
the ship.
pray to God you get it far enough away from the boat.
Yeah, actually, I think that was actually part of the trivia as well. They just, I may have it in there. I may not have kept it in, but they messed that up on a couple of them. They just totally messed up the back of the boat. Yeah.
Dang.
Watching it too close.
Wow. Well, this was a really interesting movie. I thought it was unique to the other films we've watched, and that obviously we're on a destroyer, and just sort of the time frame of it all. You know, we're not bouncing around. You know, some of the other movies we watch, you know, will do flashbacks and things like that. This movie this one really took place over just the course of a few hours. And so, I mean, when you watch an hour, 2 hour movie, you know, and then, you know, you're following an event that only took not much longer than that. It's really interesting to actually see all the mechanics and all the strategy that goes into combat between a destroyer and a submarine. So it'd be really interesting to hear if actual submariners feel like, or even whatever sailors on a destroyer, whatever their technical term is, if they think this is pretty true to actual combat and actual maneuvering. It felt very real.
I know didn't Eric mention it as being one of his favorites? It may not have been because of accuracy or anything like that, but I think it's well regarded for the tension and kind of the thriller.
He may have,
nature of it. It's kind of one of those, and it's also like just more famous. It would be one that people have seen over the course of their life. And one of the most popular submarine films. So.
Yes.
Regardless, I really enjoyed the dynamic of the two captains and them constantly sort of referring to, man, this guy's either a genius or he's a fool. And how many times they kind of say that. And obviously it ends up proving out that they are both naval combat geniuses. And only fitting that they basically end in a stalemate at the end. Enjoyed this movie a lot. I'm going to give it a 7.
Oh, wow.
All righty.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
We all went pretty high on it. I just think it's, just a solid entry.
This is one that I feel like my dad probably knows about or loves. Like, he really gets into like...
Yeah, I agree. I think my dad mentioned it as one of the ones that he really liked as well. All right, so I'm going to jump into a little trivia. So
really?
Yes. Yeah. Shock, right? So it did win the Oscar for Best Special Effects. It was actually mostly for the audio, I think. That's what I read, and I think that was for
it was pretty good
audio. And as I said, it was listed on the end of the year top 10 list for the National Board of Review. So it was well regarded critically. I don't think it was necessarily remembered as being like one of the major films of the 50s or anything like that, but it was well regarded when it was released. All right, so the American ship used for the filming was the destroyer escort USS Whitehurst, D638. So, Kyle and Brom, what do you think ultimately happened to the USS Whitehurst? If you had to make a guess.
The USS Whitehurst?
Yeah. If you had to make a guess on what happened to the USS Whitehurst.
You got turned into a cruise ship, obviously.
Self-destructed.
No, also wrong. Now, if you take into account everything we've learned about what happens to famous ships in the Navy.
Blown up.
It was used for target practice.
That's basically self-destructed.
28th of April, 1971.
That's what I meant by it. I mean,
yeah. So this film's plot device of two enemy commanders grow to respect each other and realize only war prevented a friendship between them is also shared by Star Trek Balance of Terror, the episode Balance of Terror. David Hedison, who is in the picture, also appeared in a similarly themed episode for Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Killers of the Deep. So one of the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea episodes.
Oh, okay. Not the movie.
No.
Good.
which also included stock footage. So that used stock footage from this as well. And then Jag, the show Jag,
Yeah.
Cowboys and Cossacks, 1997, used a lot of stock footage from this as well.
Really?
Yeah, so we need to watch that one probably. Although I'm actually not sure there is a submarine in that. I was trying to read the synopsis for it, and it seems like it's just like two boat captains, and one of them was like an enemy during the Cold War, and now it's past the Cold War, so they started attacking each other. I'm like, how did you use the stock footage from this? I'm confused. Like depth charges would have looked so weird. Yeah, I don't know.
On a ship battle?
I couldn't tell. Maybe it is a submarine that he's in a submarine, but I couldn't.
You would think
from the synopsis I couldn't tell.
The enemy beside.
Exactly. Okay, so as I mentioned, 2 endings were shot for this film.
Oh, I want to hear this other one you like.
In one, both commanders die. In the other, a third vessel rescues them, which is what we see.
Okay.
So they decided to film this because the director did not like the idea of shooting such a somber ending to it. He didn't like the idea of them dying.
Really?
In the end.
Oh,
and so
man.
instead he shot both and then gave it to preview audiences, and preview audiences enjoyed the more pleasant ending than the other ones. I think that kind of ages it. Nowadays it would make much more sense for it to be like they both die. It's kind of like this revenge for the American, and it is like kind of a fitting ending to this disillusioned Nazi captain, and they kind of die, I don't know, honorably, I guess. I don't know. Like
you could even do it
in this pursuit of each other. They kind of die.
You could even do it where maybe one of them, maybe they even get to the rope rescue, and he gets on the boat, and then all of a sudden, one of the captains attacks the other with a knife, and insane battle ensues. And then one of them has a blood transmitted disease, and they use the knife on each other.
Whoa.
And then we see the other one slowly waste away.
Yeah, over like several decades.
He makes it to a desert island and dies of, I don't know.
No, he just lives out
malaria.
his life. He's on his farm, and then like 10 years later, he's like, "Oh, I'm kind of feeling like a soreness in my back." And then he goes to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "You have this blood transmitted disease." And he's like, "What? How did I get that?"
And then he flashes back to that's how it could start. That's how it starts.
That's how this movie starts.
Somebody farming.
It's writing itself. I'm about 75 pages into the screenplay already.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah. All right. So the U-boat scene in this movie is far roomier and more spacious, cleaner and tidier than real German U-boats of World War II. More realistically depicted in a film called Das Boot. Spoiler alert. During the Second World War, these subs did not have passageways and private rooms and were dirty and cramped. Since U-boats' heads' toilet could not be used at depth, the crew was forced to use buckets, which during depth charge attacks would spill. It was said that when a U-boat returned to base, the smell inside the boat was enough to make dock workers vomit.
That's horrible, man.
So I hope you like that trivia.
You'd think there'd be some kind of storage tank or, something like you'd get on an RV. Anything rather than a bucket.
Yep. And then, so I also wanted to mention that the director of this film also directed one of the worst films ever made. That's called The Conqueror, starring John Wayne, where he plays Genghis Khan, or as Brom likes to say, Genghis Khan.
Wow.
Yep.
So we've got John Wayne playing Genghis Khan. Yep. We've got William Shatner as White Comanche.
Yep. So which ones do you think would be good in this movie? Since I actually didn't do this trivia for this week, I forgot about this section of it. So do you think John Wayne, what part do you think John Wayne would play?
He would have to be the American captain.
He's got to be, right? Wouldn't he be like weirdly weird otherwise?
Again, that's kind of one of those movies where there's only really 2 characters and everyone else is pretty flat.
No, he's the German captain, John Wayne.
We're going to sink him, partner.
What about William Shatner? Also the American captains. They're also both the American captains. I'm trying to think of some other offensive films, like Soul Man starring Thomas C. Howell. What about Thomas C. Howell? What would he play?
I don't even know who that is.
He was Soul Man.
Does he have a deep voice?
No, so Thomas C. Howell in Soul Man, he played a white yuppie guy who dresses in blackface to make it into Harvard using whatever affirmative action, some bullshit storyline.
Wow.
Sounds offensive.
Yeah.
It's got a 33.
It is not good. And Thomas C. Howell was like a teen heartthrob at the time.
Well, that movie probably did him in.
It's not great. It's not a great look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jan from The Office is in that movie, as well as James Earl Jones.
So what do you think James Earl Jones, what do you think, what part would he be in?
He could be the
obviously.
deep voiced dude.
Oh, he's just a random deep person. That's good. Good point.
Was that Darth Vader?
Or like all like 50s and 60s film we see, the one black guy who works as a cook.
As a cook. And it's becoming like a new trend for us.
Yeah, that is seen in a lot of these movies.
Yeah, it is.
And then I have one more trivia. According to Robert Osborne, Robert Mitchum fell down one of the ship's gangways while shooting and was severely injured, requiring him to wear a back brace for the duration of filming. At the same time, they also had other things go on, such as they fired some depth charges from the Navy destroyer used in the film, and they accidentally launched at the same time, causing damage to the ship's rudder and its hull. Which is probably why they ended up having to use it for torpedo practice.
Yeah.
All right, and we're going to finish up with a little Phantom Zone.
Ooh.
Engage the Phantom.
Phantom's engaged, sir.
So there's a lot of ways to do this. I kind of just chose one of the many ways. I kept on coming back to the same film, so I ended up using it. But it was funny each time. I'd be like, you know what? I want to use that film. I'll go to this next one. I go to the next one. I make all of the film's next steps would be like that same film.
Oh, really?
Like, God damn it! This film just keeps on coming back. So, anyways, Theodore Bickel, who played the he was the XO on the U-boat.
Okay.
So he was in The Russians Are Coming, which also featured John Philip Law as Alexa Kolshin. He was also in an Australian film called Attack Force Z.
Really?
Which, and you'd be like, oh, that's like an Australian film, like whatever. Guess who it starred?
Mel Gibson.
Indeed.
Oh, yeah.
And Sam Neill. So we know
Really?
Sam Neill. Sam Neill is, of course, in Hunt for Red October. So from there, we have a bunch of options. Like we could basically make it from there. But I was like, you know, I'm going to use Sean Connery and go to League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It's generally regarded as the best film ever made, which I agree with. And from there, Mr. Jekyll is played by Jason Fleming in that film. He's also in Blow, starring Johnny Depp, I believe. We talked about it earlier. That also stars Matthew Davis, and he is one of the characters from Pearl Harbor. That was a film that I kept on coming back to. Everyone was in Pearl Harbor. Like every time I looked around, someone was like, "Oh, he's in Pearl Harbor." It's like, "Oh God, I don't want to use Pearl Harbor today." Well, guess what? I had to use Pearl Harbor, and that features
Billy Fichtner,
our boy Billy Fichtner, and then from there, it's no big deal. We can basically make it to Phantom. Oh wait, just from there, from Billy Fichtner. So don't worry about it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're looking at Attack Force Z.
Yeah, because I want to watch this.
Well, I just got a new film, and before we like move on to the next thing, I just burned a new film for us that features a submarine.
Wow, don't admit that on here.
No, I mean I burned it. Like I actually threw it into the fireplace.
Oh, good.
I was like, we can't watch this one.
Yeah,
it's
horrible.
Obviously. Get out of here. It's called Return to Savage Beach, by Andy Sedaris. He's the director who made such films as what was it called? Hawaii. Some Hard Case for Hawaii or something, and then Savage
this is the
Beach.
movie pack you were telling me about?
Yeah, it's a 12 movie pack that I got from the library, which is called like Bombs, Boobs, and Babes or something like that. Oh, Bombs, Bullets, and Babes. I think that was called.
Those my kind of movies.
Well, you're going to really love this film because it was fucking nuts. Apparently, they kept on... The only scene that I saw as I was like looking at this film to see if there was actually a submarine was apparently they kept on flashing back to the first film in the series, Savage Beach. This is Return to Savage Beach, and there was the first one, Savage Beach, where a pro wrestler kills a FBI agent by doing a... what's it called when you like jump on their head, kind of? A pile driver.
Yeah.
So there's a pile driver and snaps his neck. And so they do a flashback and they're like, and because one of the characters like, didn't you kill an FBI agent? And it shows him pile drive this FBI agent and kill him. And then he goes, no, you don't understand. That FBI agent was actually a serial killer who was just pretending to be an FBI agent. I was like, this is how you decided to explain away him killing an FBI agent? Like, first of all, that doesn't exonerate him. He's not getting out of jail because he didn't know he was a serial killer. It's not like he secretly knew he was a serial killer. That's ridiculous.
He's like in court, and somebody's like, and that guy was a serial killer. He's like, yes.
Come off, thank God. Oh, man. I did
everyone a service.
I did pile drive him to death, but now I get out of jail.
Yeah, I totally did that.
So we are 100% watching that movie.
That sounds amazing. Yeah. All right. It's time for Subs Worldwide. It's Subs Worldwide.
Oh, I'm excited.
So, this actually played out perfectly for me. I just decided, well, we need to do, World War II era submarines. So, I picked the German Type 9 or 1X submarine.
Wow. So how many of the types have we done?
Quite a few.
7C for sure. Obviously. Duh.
And I can't remember.
Yeah.
I have a whole list compiled, so I'm trying not to redo them. Although I obviously redid that one for last week. But anyways, these were designed between 1935 and 36 to be ocean-going subs that could operate far away from Germany. They were used to disrupt, not all of them, but some of them were used to disrupt the flow of troops and supplies from the U.S. That were headed to Europe. The specs on these things, they're 251 feet long, 30 foot, 10 inches tall. So that's a pretty big boat.
It's almost as tall as I am.
Yeah, almost.
You guys don't know it. I'm 31 feet tall.
It's incredible. You should see the mic that I have to, the stand that I have to have.
Yeah. I almost made it to the NBA. I was too tall.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for me to dunk the basketball.
They couldn't get you out of the tunnel.
No.
So they could travel 10,500 nautical miles while surfaced, 65 nautical miles at 4 knots while underwater. They could go pretty darn deep for a World War II sub, 750 feet down. They held 48 people. They're diesel electric. They had 2 supercharged diesel engines generating 4,300 horsepower.
Is that a technical term, supercharged?
Yeah.
Like a supercharged Hemi.
Yeah. So it's supercharged.
Okay.
They also had 6 diesel marine engines that could generate 9,000 horsepower. And
that's a lot of horses.
yeah, it is. And 2 electric motors that could generate 990 horsepower.
You can't get that extra 10? Can't get over
Nope.
that? Can't get
Couldn't
like
do
triple
it.
digits?
It's not even close to my Mercury. What the hell?
I'm pretty sure the American subs could get to 1,000. Get those 10 extra horses on there.
Yeah, they would do anything big.
Literally, they're horses. There's 10 extra horses. We can only get to 990, just like the Germans. Lash some horses onto this bullshit. God damn.
It's funny to talk about lashing things onto here. But anyway, so with those speeds on the surface, they could travel at 18.3 knots, while submerged, 7.3 max speed.
How fast is that for our land mammals?
Nobody knows.
Scientists contend we may never know.
Yeah. So for weapons, they had 6 torpedo tubes, 4 in the front, 2 in the back.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So you get a little longer in the front. It's almost like an emo haircut.
Mm-hmm. So they also carried 6 reloads within the sub itself.
That's a lot of torpedoes to crush hands with.
It is. But also on the outside, they had torpedo containers lashed on. And,
That seems dangerous.
well, they could carry 10 additional, so they could hold 22 torpedoes, which is a lot.
What if they bumped into something? You think that torpedo's going to
Boop, boop.
explode?
They probably don't arm it while it's in storage.
That's why you're the captain, and I'm just one of the grunts. I'd totally be arming those things.
Like, hey, I armed it and I loaded it. What? Some of them did carry mines, and they could hold 44 TMA mines
What does that
or
stand for?
too much ass. or 66 TMB mines.
What does that stand for?
Too many boobs.
Yeah,
All right. And they had a 4.1 inch deck gun. And so one of these is on display in
4.1
Chicago.
inch. That's it.
Yeah. Tiny little barrel. It's just
not-
it's like a concealed carry gun.
It's a very small deck gun.
Pew, pew, pew.
It's almost
Our small arms fire can't penetrate the hull of that tanker. I don't know, guys. Just keep shooting at it.
I gotta say, I got at least an inch on that deck gun. Don't worry about it.
That's great. Anyways, so the U-505 is displayed in Chicago.
Oh, Chi-Town.
Yes, and the website actually has a pretty awesome tagline. Like when I logged on, it said "elusive, deadly, captured."
Oh shit! Yeah, fuck you.
This thing was actually captured in the South Atlantic. So I was like, no way. We just watch a movie where they're operating in South Atlantic, and I find a sub that's been captured there. So you can go tour this Bad Mama Jamma Saturday, November 10th. They have like a special in-depth one. So it's like, I know what we're all doing that day. Obviously going to be in Chicago. It was captured on June 4th, 1944. It got the great tag of being the most heavily damaged U-boat to return to port.
Great.
And as something we've seen in many of our movies, it was the only sub in which a commanding officer took their own life while in combat.
Wow.
Pretty hardcore.
So he did that to prevent being captured, or just it happened before?
I don't know. That was like just this little blip on what I was reading. I'm like, I want to know more about that because people are probably like, what just happened? What do we do now?
That would be. That's what I would think.
Mm-hmm. But that's it, man.
I liked it.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, it could have been. Could have been a little seppuku.
Yeah.
Seppuku.
I don't even say what I said.
seppuku.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Whatever I said
Seppuku.
before you guys said was offensive.
Seppuku.
Yeah.
I don't think that's offensive.
The one I said?
Yeah, the one you said was offensive. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
whatever. I don't remember that.
Anyways, Brom.
Tube 3 ready to fire, sir. Commence the countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give it to me.
Gentlemen, I have tonight a very hard-working countdown.
It's not the only thing hard. Am I right, guys? Yeah! Crush it.
It's a competitive countdown. It works to recap the BGSU homecoming for Kyle, our alum who couldn't make it. And it also catches the world up on what's been going on with Mustard Man, our absent friend.
Can I quickly, before you get into the countdown, can I quickly say something about absent friends? How we always say I go to absent friends when we were like getting ready to do this podcast. It was from Steel Sharks and whatever, and I thought it was kind of funny. I just watched like the entire Star Trek movie series, and they say that so much. It's kind of like William Shatner's thing when he's toasting.
Really?
To absent friends, yeah.
Huh.
Kind of interesting. I mean, I know it's something that people say to absent friends is like a classic kind of toast or whatever, but it was funny to see that because it's Star Trek is very like naval based. He's Captain Kirk, when he becomes Admiral Kirk, it's all Navy organization. They even had that episode that was kind of chasing the Klingons are almost supposed to be U-boats, German U-boats in a certain respect. Like
really,
they always said this cloaking device. They're hard to find, and they're kind of you have to like chase them around and stuff like that. Like, or at least this is what it was in the show, the movies that I was seeing. So it is very like navally, and I wonder how much of that to absent friends is kind of like a naval thing, and we just didn't know it, and it was in Steel Sharks, which is
and we look like a bunch of tools.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was I just wanted to interrupt real quick. Okay, keep on going. So you're counting down the top 10 victories of Bowling Green football. Is that right?
That is incorrect.
There are only 10.
The only 10 victories.
All 10. No. So for those who don't know, the Mustard Man is a happy drunk. And when he disappears during a night of drinking, he almost always returns with a new friend for everyone to meet. Kyle, are you familiar with this?
Yes. Yep. Many a times.
So I'm going to recap 5 events from BGSU homecoming this year. You have to tell me which ones are true and which ones are false based on your knowledge of the Mustard Man.
Oh, man.
I have never met Mustard Man in person, so this might be difficult for me.
This is a learning experience for you.
Yeah, don't count anything out with this guy. Were there celebrity lookalike photos? Did he find Russell Wilson again?
We did not. It was something we were focused on the whole weekend, but we did not find any of our key celebrity lookalikes this time around. This segment is Do You Know the Mustard Man?
Ooh.
Starting with number 5, true or false, guys? Frida Falcon, BGSU's legendary mascot. Alex brought Frida into our tent at the football tailgate. Alex got her autograph on his forearm and Sharpie marker. He then gave Frida his autograph on a paper towel signed Kyle Smith.
I would say true.
True. I also agree. That sounds very true.
That is a false. That is a falsity.
Oh, damn it.
It's a testament to Mustard Man, though, that we both got that wrong.
Yeah.
Totally something that would happen. I think I did a pretty good job with my false ones here.
I should have known. You guys didn't even go to the game.
We did not.
Oh, that's true. So it was an away game, wasn't it?
That information or not?
It was an away game. I should have known too.
Homecoming, an away event.
It is. It was, wasn't it an away game?
No.
Oh, I looked at I could have sworn it was listed as an away game on ESPN, but maybe ESPN didn't give a shit.
Yeah, they're probably like, "What is the MAC?"
They probably screwed it up. Number 4, Revisionist bartender. Alex brought us an off-duty bartender who is eager to tell us about his favorite liquor, a 1942 German tequila. When asked if it was Nazi tequila, because it's 1942, he responded, "The Nazis weren't really a thing yet. Trust me, I'm a big history guy." True or,
That is true.
true or false?
You're saying that's true?
I'm saying that Alex found that guy.
Oh, see, I'm tempted to go with Kyle because he like knows Mustard Man, but I'm going false.
This is a true story.
Damn it!
The Nazis weren't really a thing. During World War
1942.
II.
I'm like, wait. I had to get my phone out, and like, sure enough, they came about in the 20s, and America entered the war in 41. So
they were kind of a thing.
kind of a thing. Number 3, guy in a horsehead mask. Alex brought us a guy in a horsehead mask while on the back patio of Nate and Wally's. He was drinking a fishbowl through a beer bong tube fed under his mask. He informed us, this city's never seen my face, and it never will.
All right. I think that's false, but I really hope it's true.
I gotta make a comeback. I'm saying it is true.
It is a falsity.
Damn it! Okay, well,
Never see my face, and it never will. My God, what a quote.
Number 2, the submarine fan. Alex brought us a guy wearing a Beatles yellow submarine shirt while at the Broad House. Alex excitedly introduced him as a huge Submersion fan. When the guy said, "Wait, what am I?" Alex's face darkened and he said, "Just get the fuck out of here."
No, I'd say that's true.
I also say it's true.
That's a falsity.
Oh,
Gotcha.
I think I got it randomly right at this point.
Yeah.
Number 1, the final one here. Middle-aged female alumni. Alex hit it off with a...
True.
Alex hit it off with a middle-aged alumnus who joined us at our table at Downtown Bar. When her husband came knocking, Alex told him, "It's all right. We'll return her later with some gas in the tank."
That is true.
True.
That is a true story.
Return with some gas in the tank.
You had me at middle aged.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Well, you guys did all right there. I think I did a better job of tricking you on what things that Mustard Man would do, but
It was a very well constructed. You didn't go too crazy with what was going on to the point where you could tell that something wasn't real.
Well, I mean, but
There wasn't too many. There wasn't too many jokes. Like a lot of people will make like some extreme joke about
Yeah.
it, and then he got up on stage and his pants fell down. It's like, well, that doesn't really happen to real people.
at Bowling Green, it happens to real people.
So they're like the middle aged person, that makes sense. The one that he said in the beginning of like getting the autograph on it, putting the autograph on a paper towel and stuff like that. Like
Putting my name, I believe
That all
that.
smacks of like those little details you did that made it hard to guess.
well, thank you very much.
Especially because it's Mustard Man. That guy is unpredictable.
Hope that clued you in a little bit on how the weekend went.
So it was a good time.
That is, do you know the Mustard Man? All right.
Do we have any other things to say? Other than, fuck you, Kyle.
Great.
I think that about sums it up. Fuck you, Kyle.
Thanks for listening to Submersion. Find us on SoundCloud and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Can't get enough of us? Don't forget to subscribe for new episodes every Thursday. And if you like what you heard, please go ahead and give us a rating. All right, guys, this is fucking episode 38.
Was that the real start to it?
Yes.
All right, so Brom, you just start. We just talked, so you start talking.
Okay, so I had the delicious experience of eating a fart taco this weekend. I don't know if you've ever had a fart taco before, but basically it's a taco and you fart on it and then you eat it, and it is exquisite. if I do say so myself. And I hope that is what you were hoping for when you asked me to talk for about 10 seconds.